Today, I will talk about the threat of the A2AD in the Western Pacific Ocean. China's leadership has supported former paramount leader Deng Xiaoping's dictum from the early 1990s that China should observe calmly, secure our position, cope with affairs calmly, hide our capabilities, and bide our time, be good at maintaining a low profile, and never claim leadership. This guidance reflected Deng's belief that China's interests are best served by focusing on internal development and stability while steering clear of challenging or confronting major powers. Concerning rising of power and change of the strategy. However, some Chinese scholars question whether Deng's policy approach will continue to win support as China's interests increase abroad and its power expands. China's perceived security interests have changed considerably since Deng's era to include a heavy reliance on maritime commerce. China's improving naval capabilities enable roles and missions that would have been impossible for the PLA to pursue just a decade ago. Today, the PRC became the country having the largest GDP except the US. Some analysts estimate that the GDP of China will surpass that of the US by 2030. Analysis from 2000 to 2009 data indicates China's officially disclosed military budget grew at an average of 11.8% in inflation-adjusted terms over the period, while gross domestic product GDP grew at 9.6%. U.S. Office of Secretary of Defense, 2010. If this trend is kept, the resources allotted to the military will become larger than that of the U.S. in 10 years. Because the U.S., now suffering from the huge amount of the budget deficits, is obliged to cut the defense budget for $500 billion in 10 years. In August 2011, President Obama and Congress struck a grand bargain to raise the U.S. debt limit known as the Budget Control Act of 2011. This law immediately placed ceilings on discretionary security spending. In implementing the Budget Control Act's spending ceilings, the White House's Office of Management Budget is reportedly looking to trim as much as $489 billion more from the Pentagon's budget over the next decade. Earlier this decade, China began a new phase of military development by articulating roles and missions for the People's Liberation Army (PLA) that go beyond China's immediate territorial interests. Some of these missions and associated capabilities have allowed the PLA to contribute to international peacekeeping efforts, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, and counter-piracy operations. Other investments have allowed the PLA to pursue anti-access and area denial strategies. Still others appears designed to improve the PLA's ability for extended range power projection, although China's ability to sustain military power at a distance today remains limited. The background of the anti-access area denial strategy. The PLA strategists conceive that the U.S. forces are strengthening their envelopment around the PRC, especially in the northeastern Asia-Pacific area, as Hillary Clinton declared in Guam on January 8, 2011. The PLA strategists assert in order to accomplish their aim, the U.S. forces are taking several measures as follows. The first measure is to conduct the so-called three-island chains. The chains for the military envelopment zones. The first island chain starts from Kyushu, Japan, in the north, to Malaysia in the south, including Republic of Korea, Japan, one of the PRC provinces, Taiwan, the Philippines, Indonesia, Brunei, and Singapore. The core of the second island chain is Guam, where the largest U.S. Air and Navy bases in the western Asia-Pacific are stationed. The core of the third island is Hawaii. The second is to strengthen the military alignment in the Asia-Pacific. Chenan incident. The incident where the Rock Navy vessel was sunk, and the sovereignty issue of the Diaoyu Islands between China and Japan are especially utilized for strengthening the Japan-U.S. military alignment and the ROC-U.S. one. By the exchange of the information, the cooperation in the logistics and the bilateral military exercises, the de facto military alignments among the U.S., Japan, and ROC is constructed. Its aim is not only to threaten the North Korea, but also to defend and deter our intention. The third is by conducting the bilateral and multilateral exercises surrounding China to threaten the safety of our country. The objectives of the offensives in those exercises were clearly China. And besides, during the U.S. exercises with the ROC and Japan in 2010, the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier group entered into the Yellow Sea area. They became the real threat against the safety of our country, although they did not commit the violation of the territorial waters of China. The PLA is preparing for the new types of war and operation in the current local wars: joint operation, non-contact and asymmetric operation, firepower war, information war, quick maneuver operation, command and control war, special operation, aerospace war, amphibious operation, air raid, air defense, biological war, psychological war, ecological war, and chemical war. The threat of the medium-range missiles forces. This concludes today's conclusion. I will discuss about the threat of the medium-range missile forces next time. Thank you.